And now, ladies and gentlemen of the old world, we're back in business once again with a community showdown featuring the Vampire Counts, who shall be led by Ice Power Total War. And today, my friends, he faces off against the Tomb Kings, who shall be led by AC Zach B. Sane. So it looks like it's going to be Cetra facing off against the dreaded Blood Dragon Vampire Lord. Very much a classic pick. I believe this took place in my Eternal Challenger League, so should be quite a scrap. Now, as far as the Undead Army goes for the Vampire Count, it's going to be Triple Blood Knight, which is awesome. I always like watching these guys in action, and it's definitely a welcome change of pace. A lot of times, the rules actually previously in many tournaments did restrict Triple Blood Knights. There was kind of a cost prohibition on those guys, but that has been lifted in the current rendition of the rules. But before this, I feel like vampires often would use more kind of monster gooning as their kind of primary style of play. But I really like seeing the Vampire Counts have this like other option of like multiple heavy cav units and playing that cav style of play with a little bit of light infantry support. I think it's very, very fun to watch for sure. So it's going to be Triple Blood Knight. Blood Knights, of course, pretty good against several things on the Tomb King roster. And why they're so good is they're dual-purpose cav. Really good against infantry, really good against large targets. Not the best AP, so they're not like something with Demogryph Knights with halberds that are just going to like cut down something big and armored, but with that charge bonus of 78 on the charge, they certainly can. So it's going to be Blood Knights, and in the front, it's going to be Zombie Nation, Stearnsman, Double Banshee with the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord on foot, actually, which is quite cool. Helm of Discord to boot. Couple of Crypt Ghouls mixed in there, so Golems. Brings me back to the good old days. If you guys, of course you guys know Italian Spartacus, but you remember his first video ever made, he actually cast an entire Total War quick battle in the voice of Gollum. It just brings me back to the days of old. Nonetheless, Crypt Ghoul is pretty good at chewing down skeletons and chaff units. Probably will struggle against Tomb Guard tier infantry, but against chaff they can do the trick, and they're very quick as well with 38 speed, so you can usually get the good engagements with them. That's going to be it for this Undead Army. Now for the other Undead Army. For the Tomb Kings, we're going to see what they got here. So it's going to be Tomb Guard and Skeleton. So double Tomb Guard, Skeleton Spears on the flanks. We have a Lich Priest of Light with Nets of Amatok, it looks like. And Cetra is also going to have a couple spells, Foz Protection, or Narrows Incantation, not Foz Protection. Narrows Incantation and Protection, and the Cursed Blade. So the one to give physical resist and the one to give him a little bit of damage and anti-large, potentially, if overcasted. So this build is going to be mostly a Ushapti Greatbow build. It looks like there is a little bit of light skeleton archer support, but the Ushapti Greatbows are going to be the breadwinners. They're going to be the ones trying to shoot down the Blood Knights in conjunction with the defensive prowess here of the Sepulchral Stalkers, who potentially can intercept the Blood Knights with their charge defense and do very well for themselves. So that is it. Let's get this party started, my friends, and have some fun. God damn. It is 99 degrees here in Los Angeles today. I'm just sweating like a... It's funny, the expression sweating like a dog, it's so absurd, right? Like, you know, obviously dogs like pant to sweat. They don't like sweat like us. I never get where that perhaps came from. Nonetheless, ideological discussion for another day. The Vampire Counts will advance. I'll do a little bit of fast forwarding because zombies are not the swiftest of folk, so we'll make sure to get them in position for you guys so we can get right to the action, baby. Blood Knights here, parking behind the Crypt Ghouls. Looks like a bit of a flank overload because here you can see that... the Vampire Count's going to be getting all their Blood Knights and rotating around this way. So maybe thinking that there's a little bit of a vulnerability in this position here, or maybe he's going to try and bait the defenses with two Blood Knights here, take these ones up the middle, and then rotate up and around the side. And that's actually a really common tactic in multiplayer that I definitely recommend to you guys. Like, so obviously most opponents who've, you know, seen a little bit of competitive play or played enough ladder are going to know how to defend their flanks. Their flanks won't be open, but what you can do often is get your cav, charge up the front, hammer the infantry, and most players will instinctively pull some spears from the back to help your front line against the cav, right? So then you pull the Blood Knights up and around the back, and there's going to be an opening in the back. It's, you know, just kind of some tricky tacticianship there. Anyway, Cetra the Imperishable here, definitely a very good pick. The double Banshees. Banshees will be annihilated by Cetra, just like dunked on. Cetra is anti-infantry, does magic damage, and also fire damage, which can be pertinent against many of the undead units here. I don't know about too many here in this roster, but you guys get the picture. So here the Konigstein Stalkers are marching forward, Stearnsman as well. Stearnsman will beat Tomb Guard for sure. Stalkers will probably lose the Tomb Guard here, but the Blood Knights are coming in to assist. And it looks like he is going to be going for a frontal charge, which, like I said, if your opponent's defending the flank well, it's good to kind of prod and poke in. And it's a little bit of extra damage. It's not as devastating as like a pure open charge, but you can see the impact is still substantial. It puts the Tomb Guard, you know, below the Stalkers in terms of HP. And the same thing's being done on the other side. Ice Power with some very nice frontal charges, but now Cetra's getting in there pretty hard. Looks like going after the Banshees, but I think a Helm of Discord will force Cetra back, which is fine. Cetra can drift for sure. He not only does he rule, but he also drifts. And he's able to go through the Stalkers, go through some zombies. And if he gets attacked by Blood Knights, he can simply pull through his own troops. And look, now he's going to be charging into the front here of these Crypt Ghouls. So really, really good control of Cetra. But an opening, a chink in the armor has been found here by the Vampire Counts as the Knights of Red Keep push through onto the Skeleton Archers, who were slightly overextended. Now, some of the spears are being pulled forward, just like I was saying. So now, potentially, if there was another cav unit on the flank, they could swoop in and they could attack. But you can see here the ever-tricksy Tomb Kings do have these Sepulchral Stalkers ready, which is a great ambush. And they're able to ambush here on the Blood Knights, doing massive damage. Now, if the Blood Knights rip a charge here, I still think they'll win, especially with these buffs. Yeah, Blood Knights coming in. They're both anti-large, but of course the Stalkers do have that charge defense, which is very helpful. But Blood Knights are pretty numerous and pretty powerful, and of course have access to some of the best magic in the game. So I think they should be able to defeat those Sepulchral Stalkers. But the Stalkers still doing a good job of holding them back, right? Crypticals in here doing their thing. Setra's still going crazy in the front line, but the Blood Knights, again, have gotten through. Oh, this is going to be a brutal sandwich right here. Just a fat 2-for-1 here on these Sepulchral Stalkers. Their charge defense won't help them if they're being charged from the back and they're not braced. And that was a really, really cool Blood Knight play. And you can see that those Stalkers going to be going down for the count. Hardcore, huge loss there for the Tomb Kings. But the Ushabti Greatbows are still shooting, and the damage is adding up on the Blood Knights. So, you know, the sacrifice they made was not in vain. Now, these Blood Knights will probably go over here, probably be able to kill these Ushabti Greatbow, but the entire time they're still going to be taking Archer fire, Ushabti Greatbow fire, and also the Tomb Kings here do have access to nets of Amachok, so can potentially lock those Blood Knights down and pull some tricks. But another group of Blood Knights lurks in the trees. But this position is not going to be easy to compromise. There's tons of spears here. I would imagine the Lich Priest is going to use nets here, which is going to be a great play. Spears should saturate in. And honestly, if I were the Tomb Kings, I might focus all my resources on killing these Blood Knights, which are very much an imminent threat. Now, as far as the balanced power goes, pretty even. Especially the Imperishable taking a little bit of a breather in the back after racking up 90 kills. Tomb Guard holding very well, just buzzsawing through all these units here. And Tomb Guard here, of course, losing to the Sternsman, but, you know, doing their job of holding. There's also these two Banshees, so I think Setra needs to come back here and perhaps start gooning out these Banshees. The Blood Dragon Vampire Lord is a foot character. He's not going to be able to be, like, omnipresent all over the battlefield like, you know, a flying character could. So I definitely think Setra should go after these isolated Banshees right now. So those Ushabti Greatbow in the back are still going. Ushabti Summon is being used here, which, you know, isn't a bad idea. Like, I'd probably use the Ushabti Summon maybe on the Blood Knights here and try and, like, win that fight 2v1 against those Blood Knights, but it's going to be tough. Probably, actually, that's a bad idea, because the Crypt Ghouls are behind them, so that's just going to be, like, a surround with a ton of infantry. But these Ushabti Greatbow still going. Setra the Imperishable now is in here, I believe. I don't know where Setra drifted off to now. Setra went back here and is just cleaning out Crypt Ghouls and different things like that. But these Ushabtis are going to be down 100%. The Blood Knights will be able to finish them off. But these Blood Knights are taking casualties from the Ushabti Summon. They're not meant against heavy cav, but they still do have good AP when they do connect and can do some decent damage. And the Spears are piling forward, trying to rush in front of these Ushabti Greatbow. And at the very least, if they stand on top of the Ushabti Greatbow with the Spears, they'll be able to poke down the Blood Knights and get some pretty good value there. So we'll see how that unfolds, my friends. Here comes more Spears here, more Spears here. We have double Banshees with the Slippery activated. Going to make those Slippery wenches up to what appears to be 24 speed. Now, as far as pretty even, actually. It looks like Tomb Kings might be coming back in this one a little bit as the Blood Knights do get worn down. 24 here, 25 here, and those Skeleton Spearmen able to chase them. And that's kind of the concern for this army, is that a lot of the Tomb Kings army that still is alive is a ton of Skeleton Spearmen, which will be pretty good against Blood Knights in long-term conflicts. Not like burst damage, obviously, but if they're forced to sit and fight them. But again, on that same note, we have the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord who's just going balls deep and taking out this caster over here. This caster definitely, you know, he runs like he looks like he's feeling. Definitely not feeling great here. His Helm of Discord is activated. The Lich Priest does run into the fold of skeletons here to try and hide. But yeah, it's going to be tough. Setra really will have to put this game on his back if he wants to, you know, pull this one in. He's going to have to kill the Banshees. He's going to have to kill the Blood Dragon Lord. And what's cool about Setra is he's more than capable of doing that. But Vampire counts, do they have any supporting chaff left? Crypt Ghoul, Skeleton Warriors. These Blood Knights are down to 12 models. These ones are at 25, and the ones on the far side are at 24. So as far as their fighting capacity, they're all very low. I think Setra, yeah, it's a tough choice, because like Setra can clean up all the infantry for the Vampires, which might not be a bad idea, but really killing the Banshees is good. He could even go after the Blood Knights. Like, the Blood Knights are beat up enough that Setra could take them. I mean, not all three of them probably at once, but if he's able to find them with a little bit of support nearby, maybe. So Setra does take a little bit of an attack there from the Banshee, pulling back now. Some of the Knights of Red Keep do lance into him, and here you can see the Blood Dragon, the Vampire Lord with Sword of Anti-Heroes, and Heart Piercing is certainly cutting through the Skeleton Spears at a pretty rapid rate. So here comes your boy Setra, and oh, look at this, actually. There's still some Ushabti Greatbow love. Not sure how that's happening, but Setra comes in and is able to kill some of the Blood Knights. Those Blood Knights certainly in very bad shape, and boom goes the Dynamite. As Setra the Imperishable does cleave them asunder. You know, if Zach is able to stabilize these Greatbows somehow, that's got to be really tough with two somewhat healthy Blood Knights on the battlefield, but that would be for sure a huge game changer. And now Setra's coming in for the rear charge on the Banshee, and does he make contact? It looks like he kind of does. No, he actually misses there. He might have been going after the Blood Knights. I'm not sure where his attack order did lie there, but he really needs to start killing those Banshees. Those things are going to be an unholy terror. And look at that. One attack from Setra pulls that Banshee. He almost two-shotted that Banshee right there. Brutal damage coming in. Here's another shot maybe. No, he's pulling back. The Scroll of the Mighty Incantations active to give him some juicy Winds of Magic. That is the one that gives Winds of Magic based on nearby units. No, that's really not good for the Vampires. The Ushabti Greatbow are actually back in business, and now they're shooting at the Blood Knights here in the back. One Banshee has crumbled, and suddenly the tide turns. You know, currently it looks like Ice Power was pulling ahead here a little bit in this game, but now it's pretty much dead even. And Setra still has a legion of loyal skeletons here. That's going to be a really, really tough one to deal with. And yeah, there's enough spears to stop the Blood Knights now. I don't know how this is going to end, honestly. I feel like Tomb Kings are maybe in a slightly advantageous state, but Blood Knights, Banshee, Blood Dragon Lord, they're all pretty formidable opponents, and they are just chaff spears. They're not like Tomb Guard Halberds or something like that, but Settra is just, he's going ham, and it's really cool. I mean, Settra on the Chariot, for a long time when he came out, was considered to be very overpriced, but I actually think in some matchups he's got some teeth, and this one appears to be one of them, right? Banshees are often used as an anti-construct tool in builds that don't use Terrorgeist, so bringing Settra as kind of a counterpiece against them seems really, really smart. So here, these Blood Knights pulling back, going to be lancing into the Shop du Grepo, definitely a little bit overdue, but he is able to get in there, and those Shop du Grepo taking a little bit of damage, but there's like a lot of Skeleton Spears kind of mixed in, which are occupying the Blood Knight models. But that rear charge plus the Banshee plus the Blood Dragon Lord, a really, really good play there by the Vampire Counts. He's able to get in there. Narrows, Incantation, and Protection, a great response as well, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to save them. It looks like their leadership is pretty bad right now. Negative 45. That bad boy is tanking pretty good. And the Blood Dragon Lord, the Sword of Antiheroes, is active once again. Nice cycle charging here with the Blood Knights. And you know what I think is probably happening? I think the Vampire Count player here is probably saving for zombie summons. Yeah. So then he uses his zombie summons in the fourth quarter to oblige the attacking rule. So then he can pull back with the Blood Knights and get some really good cycle charging and things like that. So, yeah, really, really good kind of tactics there. Settra going in, able to pick off some Blood Knights, it looks like. Definitely hitting pretty hard. I mean, normally Chariots don't have a ton of damage, but his weapon strength, even on a Chariot, is 470. And 45 melee attack is not bad. Normally Chariots have really bad melee attack, which makes them, you know, supposedly not good against big targets. But Settra is kind of an exception on the Chariot of the Gods. It is no mere Chariot. It is the Chariot of the Gods. So zombies, you know, slowly getting worn down here. Blood Knights pulling back, but man, they are on death's legs here. 10 of these bad boys. For the other ones, it looks like we have 18, so it looks like 28 in total. There's just so many Skeleton Spears. There's so much HP here. They're all slowly crumbling. That is certainly true. Oh man, an overcasted Invocation there is so good. That's going to be hitting the Blood Knights. But now Settra engages. Is he going to get any picks? He's at 218 in terms of kills, so that's going to be probably our best method for tracking. Going after these Blood Knights in open field I think is too risky. I think if he does, he'll get surrounded and the Banshee will come, Blood Dragon Lord will come, and oh no! Settra takes a bit of an awkward engagement there. He might get caught by the Blood Knights and the Banshee. It looks like he's taking some heavy damage, and the Helm of Discord here, really, really good. Man, that is a huge nerf. Nice stuff right there. These Blood Knights are crumbling down, -8 and -37, going to be losing 10 HP per second. So that's pretty substantial. They could potentially just crumble. You can see actually Blood Knight models are just falling in droves there. Not in droves, but certainly at a substantial rate. And, you know, the Blood Dragon Lord must have a ton of kills. 179. I mean, he's a foot character. Foot characters are supposed to be good against infantry and tough to kill. Especially, I mean, look, you have like Skeleton Spearmen with a Chevron, but normally their melee attack is 18 against, you know, 40 melee attack and 90, or 40 melee defense and, you know, 90 armor. Their chance of even hitting the Blood Dragon Lord is so damn low without their bonus versus large. And Settra comes in and just ramrods those Blood Knights, brings him down to one model, and now it's just this last Blood Knight, which honestly, probably just get Settra and what you have left of the spears and go after him, but the rear charges from the Blood Knights are super clutch because they're actually crumbling many of these units. And Settra going in after the Banshee? Maybe, no, he ignores the Banshee, although maybe he's just doing some circles around the Banshee, but yeah, going after the Banshee is a good choice. It's an open field. Although, yeah, you gotta retreat now. When the Blood Dragon Lord comes for vengeance, you gotta get away and save him for last, because he's gonna be... Vampire Lords are really, really tough to kill in general. Blood Knights are taking casualties, for sure. Settra's going to be hunting them down, I would imagine. You know, every attack of Settra's will, at the very least, kill a Blood Knight model. Looks like a couple actually get trapped behind Settra's spokes, and also get trapped amongst some spears. So they're down to 14 models. Settra is up to 231, so you can see he's gotten a fair amount of Blood Knight kills since we last looked there. These Blood Knights are crumbling, weak binding, pretty close. Ooh, but the curse here is actually a pretty substantial factor. Should do some okay damage against the Blood Knights. I guess it's like 5 HP per tick, which isn't super heavy. It's better against like larger blobs of units, much like Flock of Doom. But, you know, it's looking a little bit scary for Settra. I mean, he's got some Tomb Guard here holding on. Those Blood Knights are so low. They're so low. Settra the Imperishable riding through the Banshee, getting some fat damage in the process. And this is like, you got to go for broke here. Like, you got to just like start taking these things out. And the Blood Knight's pulling back here. The Banshee is actually crumbling itself, so that's pretty valuable. You know, 10 HP per second. It adds up. You know, I do think crumbling could perhaps be a little bit rebalanced to maybe be like 15 HP per second, something like that. But I don't know. I need to run some testing on that because a lot of people just hate playing against undead and they have this like blind hatred for them. Granted, you know, undead factions are very strong and you know, are considered to be top tier, but you know, there's other factions that consistently beat them as well. So, you know, it's something that would require careful evaluation before making a statement like that, I suppose. But Tomb Guard and Spears here, able to crumble the Blood Knights. The Banshee's crumbling down. This is really actually damn close. It may come down to Settra versus the Blood Dragon Lord in the end. I think it's going to, because the Tomb Guard are going to last long enough to crumble down the Banshees. Settra is just, you know, not caring right now. He's drifting about, man. He's just like, I'm just going to kite you guys. There's only 4 of you Blood Knights. Oh, and he gets in on the Banshee in the killing blow. You know, Cetra might be able to beat this Blood Dragon Lord. I mean, he only has 600 HP less than a full health Blood Dragon Lord. The Chariot of the Gods has a big HP pool. Yeah, just kite the Banshee, man. Just let it crumble down. Beautiful play right here by both players. This is by far one of the best games we've had here on the channel in quite some time, in my opinion. So now it's the Blood Dragon needs to just kill the Tomb Guard, because if he kills the Tomb Guard, Cetra will be forced into combat with him. And here comes the spokes of the Imperishable One, getting some fat damage, and that Bounce of Power is looking a little bit creepy here, guys. Yeah, they're crumbling, though. The Tomb Guard are going down, and as soon as the Tomb Guard 2 break, Cetra, in accordance with the rules of the tournament, will be forced to stay in combat and fight. So, yeah, man. The Blood Dragon Lord getting rode over, Sword of Anti-Heroes is active. So it's smart. The Vampire Count's here just going after the Tomb Guard, knowing that if that's the case, then Cetra will have to stay and fight. But honestly, what items does Cetra? No items. If he had the sword, maybe it would be a much smoother fight. He gets one last nice charge in there, with one Tomb Guard fighting. The last of his Great Legion does crumble down. There you go, buddy. You did well. And now the Duel of Duels. Oh, yeah. It's the classic anime duel. So they're just going to stay and fight here to the bitter end. So let's do a little bit of fast forwarding. And Cetra kind of automatically does cycle charge sometimes with attack animation, so it's like a tricky thing. And yeah, here they are. So, all right. So the Helm of Discord is really big, but oh man, this is so close. But he has Heart Piercing active, so 600 weapon strength is pretty nasty. Cetra has melee defense of 6 with that Helm of Discord. Oh my god, this is just too close. No healing for the Blood Dragon Lord. Cetra is yeah, army losses is going to get Cetra, I think. Oh, man, that was close. And the Blood Dragon Lord narrowly gets that. What a battle, man. Well played, Ice Power Total War and Zach B. saying, dude, that was an absolute scrap. Two players, very, very good. High skill level. Man, just, you know, obviously a couple mistakes on both sides, but that's normal. I mean, if you're playing good opponents, you're going to make mistakes. Like, even the best of players in the world, which these guys are among them, are going to make, you know, perpetual mistakes that their opponents force, right? It's more about, like, you know, making unforced errors, I guess. Or, you know, like if you just make an error that your opponent didn't make you, that's like the big thing. And you see that in sports as well, like tennis and things like that. They'll always say like, oh, that was an unforced error. Like it was just user error. It wasn't like his opponent got him. That's like kind of how it is anyways. But yeah, well played to these guys, man. And I really like both the builds. The Triple Blood Knight's badass. This build was capable of beating it. This build was capable of beating the Tomb Kings. It was like, it really just came down to a couple moments. And yeah, it was a very, very solid match. So big thanks for you guys for sending that one in. So until next time, guys, we'll be back with some sweet replays very soon. Got to be getting back to doing some other fun stuff on the channel as well. You guys might be seeing some Blood Bowl back in business. And yeah, man, I'm hyped. So thanks again for joining, guys. Really appreciate you all. And until next time, you guys stay safe in these wild, wild times we live in. Screw 2020, man.